What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. So we've got something really exciting that we're going to do today. Today is the day where we're finally going to put the 2JZ and the ZF into the E36. Now I've got all the parts laid out. I got the JZ over here. I've got all the adapter kits here. I've got the ZF transmission right here. And we're going to get this thing all freshened up to get in the car. Now there's one thing I do want to do. So over here in the E36, if you guys kind of remember from previous videos, it's a little dirty in here. So I don't really have ability to run like a pressure washer right now and hit it on out. So I had this idea where basically I'm gonna hit with hot water. This isn't a foaming surface prep. It's just some hot water and a spare bottle that I had laying around. However, we do have some Griot's multi-purchase citrus cleaner that I'm gonna hit basically with it, let it sit for a little bit, and I'm gonna hit it with that and try and wipe it as best I can to get it all nice and clean. Basically because I don't want to put the motor in here and then it's just difficult to clean later if I try. But yeah, I'm really pumped. So we've got over here, we've actually got basically the PMC adapter. We got the PMC kind of like a flywheel. Well, there's a flywheel that's going to go right here. Basically, it's going to be the stock 2JZ one. And then here, I'll flip the camera around. So stock 2JZ one's gonna go right here, and then this is basically gonna be adapted into that, and that's where the clutch and the pressure plate are gonna be inside of the ZF. So this is basically a bolt-in kit. The only thing that I did wanna do was, I don't know the condition of all the stuff that's inside the ZF right now, so I'm sure the fork's fine, but I did get a new bearing and a new master cylinder from our good old friends over at Bimmer World. They hooked it up with all this stuff. Now in terms of the clutch, the pressure plate, and the adapter and everything else, those are courtesy of Drift HQ, so head on over there if you guys need anything related to like adapters for really any engine to a ZF, because PMC hooks it up. ZF transmissions are amazing. They're lightweight, they're not super heavy, they're small, and they can hold a lot of power. I think this can hold, I think I've heard people hold about 700-800 foot-pounds in these things. So yeah, I think the main thing I'm gonna do right now is I will hit the engine bay real quick with some cleaner. I'm gonna let that sit for a bit, and then I'll hit it with a pressure washer. But in that meantime, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna disassemble the ZF for the parts that we don't need, and then I will get back to it with the recording once I get all of this taken care of. So yeah, let's get after it. All right guys, so while that's sitting, we're gonna go ahead and try and take this thing apart. Basically, so I'm gonna reuse this little clutch fork that's inside here, but the little, I don't know if this is a guide or basically this is gonna get replaced. I think, I should have gotten a new clip. I think this will be okay, and then I'm gonna replace the master cylinder. So yeah, let's get after it. All right, you guys, got the clutch fork off, so now we're going to take off that little guide, and I think at the same time I'm going to take off the old master cylinder. We're not going to reuse this line. I don't think we are, at least. Maybe there's a way I can implement it, but yeah, right now we're going to take this guy off, take this guy off, and then I'm just basically just going to get all the other stuff back on. So here we go. Okay, after getting the clutch master cylinder, or the, you know what I mean, the slave, back on, I'm having kind of a hard time even getting this thing to budge. So I think what I'm going to do is, yeah, I can mess with it to try and get the new one on, but this one's actually not bad. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna use it, and I'm gonna put the bolts back on, and we'll just basically get the throwout bearing back installed, and this thing will be good to go. And then we can get onto the JZ side and get that adapter on. So yeah, I think that's what we'll do. So stay tuned. All right, guys. So I managed to get the clutch fork, the little clip back on, the master cylinder's on, and we got the throw-rod bearing here. Ironically enough, there's nothing securing this guy. I'm gonna do some digging and make sure. I've noticed some people have said that this just stays on naturally. I am a little interested if that is true or not. Obviously, I can't push it back right now. Seems to be sliding okay. I'm definitely going to do some digging real quick and figure that one out. But now we're going to move on over to getting the adapter onto this guy. So stay tuned. All right, guys. So right when I ended the last clip, I remembered that I put the citrus cleaner in the engine bay. So I started wiping one side. I started wiping one side and I wanted you to see the difference. So this is before. So it actually ran down a little bit, but yeah, it's kind of pulling down there. So I'll just have to hit it with one more, give it a wipe, but this is what happened after I did that. Look at the difference right now. I know it's not like, pristine or anything, but just a little bit of time and a little bit of elbow grease and it looks so much more presentable. So I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah, I might call this side good for now, and then I'm actually gonna hit this side and we'll continue on. All right, guys. Well, I think that's the best we're gonna be able to get it. So that looks a heck of a lot better than it did before. I mean, you can kind of still see the condition when you look at the whole fuse box location. I haven't 100% decided. There's actually a really good alternative that we could do to where we can delete I don't want to say delete the fuse box, but at least go down to a more minimalistic kind of for a race car. It'll still have every function in the car, but it won't be 30-plus-year-old wiring. So I am looking into that. Plus it'll bolt right into our engine harness, which the engine harness came 2 days ago. I'm super excited about it. It is beautiful. So really pumped on that. Drift HQ ordered it through Wiring Specialties, so I'm really pumped about that. I think we'll see it maybe in the next video or the video after, depending on which route I decide to go. But yeah, we are now, I think, going to go forward with getting the adapter, the flywheel adapter for the clutch, onto the JZ, and then I want to do some research on that throw-out bearing. I thought I remembered that a lot of people, they didn't grease it, and then some people are, so I just want to make sure that basically if I bolt this all together, I don't have to take the transmission right back out. Because the clutch is either messing up or not engaging. So that would kind of suck. So yeah, let's get on into putting the flywheel on. All right, guys, so we're gonna start getting this, all right, guys, so we're gonna start getting the adapter on the 2JZ installed. So the first thing we're gonna do is on this little guy here, I'm gonna start putting this pilot, or I guess it's kind of an adapter, kind of like a pilot bearing. Pilot bearing is actually in, basically this adapter flywheel that goes with this whole kit. I'll show you guys that in a second, but basically this little spacer plug type thing, we're gonna install that right now. So gonna get that on in, and I will start walking you guys through these steps. All right, so gave it a good whacking, and so now it's installed right there. So if I'm gonna bring you guys on over here, so we've got all of our hardware. I start separating it kind of by length and what it was. And the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna try and get this beautiful billet adapter piece installed, and then we'll get the hardware on in. I'll set that all up, and I'll walk you through that, and then we've got the flywheel clutch pressure. It's called something, but basically this little adapter piece right here. But as you can see, there's actually a throw-out bearing in here, and that's what's going to go with the clutch, and this will just bolt on in. So yeah, let's get on after it. All right, guys, so I've got the adapter piece right here. So what you're going to want to do is there are actually dowel pins located on the engine, and there's little spots on here that are going to line on up. So the way that I was seeing was, I believe it is going to be the PMC symbol right here. It's going to go in the top right corner. So we're going to try that guy on out and see if that goes in. Actually, guys, one thing that I should show you too. So there is actually this coolant line that's on the back of the head. This will actually interfere with putting the adapter on. So what you're gonna wanna do is kind of massage this thing up. Not quite sure how I'm gonna do that yet, but I will figure that out and I'll let you know what I do. So let's see how we're gonna do that. Probably a ball peen and a lot of massaging. All right, guys, so I managed to massage this coolant pipe up. Now, I did go ahead, because I was messing with it on the adapter. So it does kind of touch the head. I mean, I don't know what the best solution to this is. However, it's on. I don't think this is really gonna mess with too much. But anyways, we did get the adapter on, so I was right. The PMC does go in the top right corner. So the way I figured that out is there's holes all over this place, probably for multiple transmissions, for going to the 2JZ to other ZFs or the ZF going to something else. However, PMC top right corner, there's dowel pins in. The way I kind of spaced it was the starter is going to be on this side, and there's this little cutout. So you want to make sure that there's clearance for that. And then I lined it up with basically the bigger holes. So the way this is there are 5 larger hex bits on the top. I believe they're 18 millimeter, and then the bottom ones are 17s. And they're smaller. You'll be able to tell the difference. And I believe the reasoning for that is not only just the threads, but this is also cast aluminum. This is cast iron. So this is way stronger than this. And this is also the oil pan. So I wouldn't torque these down too much. Same with this one. Now, the other thing I do want to mention is the kit does not come with instructions or torque specs. It may be on their site. I have really bad reception out here for service where my shop's located. So I'm going to try and see if I can find the torque specs, and I'll tell you guys. If not, I will list them, or if I find them, I'll list them down below so you guys can see them. However, yeah, we're going to get these things good and tight, and then we're going to move on to the next piece, which is going to be the actual flywheel that's going on the back of this. One thing I do want to mention, though, is I do not have a starter for this guy, so we'll put that in later. Now, what you're going to do is the starter on the JZs normally comes in on this side. It's still going to, but it threads in from this way into the actual starter. So the threads are actually on the starter. So what you would do is you put the starter in, you drill out the threads, and then you'd have bolts that will basically go on through the block, and then they'll thread into these holes right here. Some of the holes up here on either side. So that's how you'll do the starter. I don't have one with me. I need to order one. I thought I had one, but I tested it off camera like a week ago, and it was bad. So yeah, I'll have to find another one. But yep, let's move on. All right, guys. So the next part of this is, so we're going to utilize basically the automatic flex plate setup. And so what's going to happen is you're going to have the spacer. So that's going to go on first, and you're going to get that nice and lined up. Now the next part is you're going to have the flex plate. Now it doesn't obviously label what side it is. This is the old flex plate. Now what you're going to do is you're going to have the weld sides out. So we're going to go ahead and get that on. Very carefully, don't smash my fingers. Okay, that's kind of pinching, that hurts. So get that on. Hopefully, looks like you kind of have to like jimmy it on. So give me a second. Okay. All right, got that nice and lined up. Now, one thing I am going to do, I can see what I'm doing. I'm going to take a screwdriver. I'm just going to try and align it into the threads because right now my adapter is off. All right, that looks as best as we're going to get. Now, the other thing that we're going to do is we are actually going, this is our like adapter. So as you can see, it's going to basically space it out. So I'm going to try and get this guy on. Hopefully it won't give me too much trouble. Wow, that just went right on. Sick. Now we do have 8 of these, I believe it's like size 8 or size 8 like 6-sided hex bit bolts. So you're gonna put these on. I actually put red Loctite on. I know some people might have preference on what Loctite to use. I don't want this to come loose and go through the transmission into my foot, anything in here. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these all started, and we will get these in. Alright guys, sorry in the last clip, I know you could only see like my neck down and the transmission. I figured that was more important and I didn't really want to adjust the shot. So we've got the bolts inside. So yeah, size 8, there's 8 of them. I did it in a star pattern, and then I checked and tightened them down just to make sure that they're all fully seated and everything else. So pretty happy with that. I put an itty bit of red Loctite on there because my blue Loctite apparently is like a complete solid block inside, and I figured a little bit of red Loctite, it's gonna be perfectly fine. At least that way I know it won't come loose. So our next step is we are gonna torque these down to, I guess the recommended torque is 63, apparently, kind of a random one. So we're gonna go ahead and do that, and then what I'll do is I'll start at 30. I'll do all of them, make sure it's all good, and then I will do it to 63. So yeah, let's get this going. All right guys, so those are all torqued. So I torqued them down to 30 inches. Now, here's a quick tip that I've seen and I've kind of done in my previous career, like with aerospace. So I actually put a socket in between the flywheel and the block, kind of, because I'm by myself, no one can really hold the front for me, and this is just going to rotate when I'm torquing it. So it did pretty good for the 30 inch-pounds. Let's see what it does for the 63. So let's get those torqued down. All right, guys, I gotta stand up for a second. My knees are killing me. Okay, so we did 30 foot-pounds, then we did 50 foot-pounds because I was having actually a hard time getting it to. It felt like it was gonna snap, so I figured let's try it with 50. Worst case, we'll leave it at 50. It's probably fine. I did actually go to 60 foot-pounds after that. It was totally fine. We're gonna leave it at that. Now it's time to put the clutch and the pressure plate on. So that's exciting because we're almost done. All right, guys, we're back in the ground here. So we're now gonna put the clutch and the pressure plate on. Now, 2 things I wanna know. So the kit does not come with a clutch alignment tool. So we're gonna make do, and we're gonna do the old school trick where you put kind of an extension on as close to the size to help try and line it up. Now, one other thing is the clutch. So this is a 6-butt clutch. I think it's rated like 700 foot-pounds. I can't quite remember. Now, you'll see it's not really labeled as to which side, at least, so it's obvious. But if you look in here, there's actually a part number, and it actually has FW on it. So my thinking is that's most likely the flywheel side. So we're gonna go ahead and get the flywheel on, and then I have the clutch over here. Now, in the kit, there's actually 6 of these. Again, they're hex bolts. They're actually size 6. There's only 6 of them, so you're gonna know that those are the ones. Now, before I put this on, in case you guys want a good laugh, of course, when I look for this, I finally found my blue Loctite. Which I probably should have put blue Loctite on the other threads, but hey, you know, they're not gonna go anywhere. So now we have what we need. So let's try and get this guy on. By the way, does anyone else ever feel like whenever they do like a job like a clutch or transmission, or put it in the car, you're always by yourself and it's always the biggest pain in the butt? So yeah, that's what we're doing today. Be nice to have an extra hand. All right, guys, so ended up getting the clutch on, flywheels in. So as you can see, that thing isn't the most lined up. So I think that what I'm gonna have to do is I've got everything fairly loose right now. I'm just gonna have to kind of manipulate it up, I think, with the extension, and then once I get it as close as I possibly can, I'll start snugging it down and getting it where I like it, and then I'm gonna torque it. Hopefully, when I get it all set in place, it's gonna be a nice little slip in with the transmission, because I really don't want to fight this thing. So let's see how this goes. All right, guys, I managed to get the clutch on. So I don't know if you guys can tell in there. That is probably as straight as I'm gonna get it. It's probably just a little out of alignment, maybe a hair, or I've got the camera off, camera not as centered, but yeah, I think that is how we are gonna do it. So now we are gonna torque this thing down to, it says 18 foot-pounds, so that's what we're gonna do. So here we go. All right, guys, so that's it. We've got the clutch, pressure plate, adapter, everything. It's all on. So now I think the next step is getting this guy on. So I'm hoping this will go pretty smooth. Let's see how it goes. All right, so one thing I wanted to mention before is there are actually these little, I don't know if you get like a little bushing or alignment. So there's two of them in the kit. So they go basically on the transmission side. There's one here and there's one here. You'll be able to tell because there's really no other spots on the transmission that this can really go into. I mean, you could try and force it in one of these two, but I actually think those are too small for it to stick in here. But I'm not going to try that. We got it where it needs to go. So yeah, here and here. And now, time to marry them. Okay, so real quick, I made a mistake. Not with the transmission, anything that I done. I did forget that the previous transmission mount is on the bottom. It's actually hitting the adapter. So make sure you take that out because that actually, I think, it felt like it was going in. It was the only thing that was hitting was that. So yeah, let's take that off real quick. All right, guys, I managed to get that off. All I'm gonna say is if you work on cars or anything mechanical and you have to deal with stuck bolts, definitely invest in extractor tools because that just saved my ass. So it did take a little bit more effort than I wanted to, but hey, it's out, so can't complain. All right, now let's move along. This stupid thing's off. And hopefully now this will go on swimmingly. God damn. Whoa. Why are you not going in? What a hit. it's in neutral. It's gotta be on the clutch plate, so why is it? Okay. All right, guys. I don't know how long it's been for you guys, but it's been, wow, it's been 4 hours for me. I've taken this transmission off about, I would say 8 times. I'm not sure if it's me or what's going on, but I need a clutch alignment tool. I cannot get this thing like perfectly center and push it on by myself. I'm completely like dead. So I think for tonight, we're gonna call it. I'm gonna order a clutch alignment tool. Hopefully it'll get here. Worst case, if I'm feeling up for it, I'll try again tomorrow. But yeah, next time you see this, we should be, at least it'll be the clip where this gets installed. So just stay tuned. All right, guys, so this is a continuation of the last video. Sorry for the delay. It's been a few days. I've been super busy and I was waiting on basically the clutch alignment tool. Thankfully, BimmerWorld overnighted it. I just wasn't able to get time to where I could come back over to the shop. So if you don't know what one of those is, it's this little guy. And as you can see, it is splined with some teeth. And it's got this little boss on the end of it. That little piece on the end goes into the pilot bearing, and then it aligns it with the spline for the clutch, so it's perfectly center. That was the problem before. I just wasn't able to get it perfectly center. So now that we have that, we're gonna try and get the clutch aligned, and I'm hoping that we're gonna be able to get this transmission on and finally can bolt it up, and we can see if we can get this thing in the car. So yeah, stay tuned. Okay guys, I wanted to try and do it with the clutch and the pressure plate on still. It was kind of difficult to see, and I wanted to make sure it was actually going in. So I've got the clutch alignment tool right here, got the clutch on. So basically, let me put this down. We'll take the clutch off for now, but the shaft end, I wanted to make sure actually went in the pilot bearing. It is. So we are gonna do this one more time. And I put the clutch alignment tool on through. And let's put the clutch back on. Yep. So just like that, and then I'll put the clutch back on. I just wanted to make sure it was all in there and lined up because, I just want to make sure it was all lined up and everything because it's really difficult to see, and the last thing I want is to go through all the effort, put this back on for like the 4th time, and I can't get the transmission on. For some reason, we're really struggling with this, and I don't know why. So Sorry if this is boring to you guys, but I just want to make sure I do this right because I don't want to have to take this thing back off later. So, all right, let's try and get this finally installed permanently. All right, guys. So, clutch alignment tool, everything's torqued. Now, we'll find out if that worked and we can finally get the transmission on. So, here we go.
Well, it just went right on. All right, let's get this thing bolted down. Oh, thank God.
All right, guys, so we now have the 2JZ and the ZF are now mated together. So it's all bolted up. I'm actually pretty pleased with this kit. Apart from like the clutch alignment tool, that was kind of, I've never really had a kit without a clutch alignment tool, so that was kind of interesting. Not a big deal. It's like 15 bucks, and Bimmer World was really nice. They overnighted it to us. Now, my one interesting thing with this kit is, so everything's bolted up. I basically stuck all the bolts and the hardware in for every hole that it could fit in. So these two are about the same. I think this one's like a longer one that's got like a, it's just threaded on the bottom end, and it's just a normal shank on the top. Then you got a smaller one here. There's a smaller one on the bottom, and then a smaller one on this side. But what's interesting is I don't have anything that fits in these two. And every video that I was watching, some guys had like a hex bolt that would go on in, and like a 6-sided hex bolt that would go on. There's no hex bolts in here. It's just the recessed like inside hex bolts, just not like a normal bolt that would go in there like everyone else had. But what's interesting is,
I don't know if you can see in there, that hole's offset and that hole's offset, and I've tried threading it
and I can't get anything in. So, I mean, it's pretty bolted down. I'm wiggling it, like nothing's separating. It's pretty on there. I'm just gonna send it. We'll see what happens. If there is an issue, we'll go from there. I'll reach out to who I ordered the kit from and make sure it's all good. But I'm pretty happy with it. I'm excited. We've got this thing all bolted up. So now I'm gonna take off the driver's side mount that's still on the engine, and I think we're gonna put the motor mounts on. I'm gonna try and see if I can get this thing in the car. So that's pretty exciting. So stay tuned. All right, guys. So this is the last clip. What I managed to do was I actually got the engine mounts on both sides on, and what I did was, because I'm not sure what layout I'm gonna need, I just kind of loosely installed the transmission mount. And what I mean, like, I don't know which way it's gonna go is, I don't know if this tab's gonna go aft in or forward of the transmission. So what I'm gonna do is I'll get it locked up, and then when I jack the transmission up, I'll get this installed. Now, one thing I do want to mention though is, I think this kit's awesome. The machine work, everything else is amazing. What I'm super confused on is, I don't know if this is like some new revision or something like that, because I have like that much hardware left of these new bolts. Now I know 2 of them are going to be for the starter when I manage to get it. And what I mean by that is over here.
So the starter still has to go on. I just don't have a good one yet. I need to order it. But what's interesting is, well, first off, what you'll have to do is, there's threads actually on the back of this. So normally on the JZ starters, there's threads on the starter, so you would go this way in. Well, what you'll do is you'll drill out those threads so that you can have the bolt go aftways, and you'll actually have it go through here and then thread onto the backside. Now, this kit's awesome. What's just interesting is, I think what they maybe have done is they sent you the hardware for like 3 different engines, so you're all good with that. Maybe that's what they did, but yeah, we're gonna try and get this in the car. So let's see if we can do it.
Also, apologies there if it seemed like the last like 5 seconds of the last clip I was rushing. I saw the battery was about to die and I was like, oh, let me get this clip done before it gets ended. So yeah, still love this kit, really happy with it. But yeah, I think they just sent like a bunch of hardware for basically like multiple different engines, so they didn't have to have multiple kits. Maybe that's what they did. This thing's really sturdy. I'm not worried about it, you know, flexing or anything else like that too. We'll get in the car, maybe I'll drive it for like a couple miles or something like that. We'll check everything, make sure it's all good. One thing I did want to mention though is maybe some people are looking at this swap that I'm doing and they're questioning why I'm not upgrading some parts or I'm not upgrading like we haven't opened the engine. And one of the reasons for that is I need to be able to cut costs somewhere. So I think doing a turbo and RTEC manifold, the whole swap and everything else like this, just total transparency, this is not a cheap swap. If any of you have priced it out, like I'm really fortunate to be able to do this. The last thing I want to do is spend a bunch of money on basically the motor and then I can't afford to get the rest of the car running. But yeah, that's my thought process behind this, and heaven forbid later, like if the motor pops, then we have everything around it that's already good and we can focus on just getting the motor either fixed or we just buy some really nice crazy drift motor. In a perfect world, that's what we'll do. I don't want this to blow up. Let me just make that clear. I know my wife's watching this and she's not gonna like me saying that, but I'm just being really honest with everyone. So, all right, let's get this thing in the car, or hopefully get it in the car. All right, guys, there's a little bit of an intermission between the last clip that you guys saw and where I am now. It's been a few hours. I had a family matter that I didn't want to, miss out on. So we're back here. I'm gonna try and get the transmission into the car with the engine, and hopefully we'll be able to end the video there and everything will go in smoothly. So yeah, let's get back to it. All right. Okay, guys, so I think I need to maybe rethink my plan just a little bit. I could probably get it in here, but the problem is I'm having is I think some of that shielding and some of the stuff might still be interfering on the firewall. So the problem is every single time I try and like angle it, either the valve cover hits or the transmission hits the top of the tunnel, and it's just becoming too difficult to articulate. The big problem I'm having is it just has enough of that oil pan to touch the cross member that I'm having kind of a rough time putting it in here. And with doing it by myself, and the more I'm thinking about maybe what I should do is order the starter. It'll be easier to put the starter in with the motor probably out of the car. And then I can spend some time and kind of get some stuff out of the bay that I want to. Also, the interior is stripped on this car. I would maybe like to strip a little more of it because I think what I have decided to do is I would like to go over and redo the wiring in the car. Since between me just starting filming this clip and going to the next one, there is like 3 connections that I tried to take off with the little Deutsch connectors. They literally crusted and broke in my hand with no pressure, like at all. So it's just, everything's been heat cycled. It's 30 years old. I really would like to put this swap in the car and not have a whole lot of problems. So I think that's what we're gonna do. I'm sorry to delay this video. I think it's a little late than the other ones, and it's just been a week. So I appreciate you guys watching it all the way through. I really enjoy making these. I have no intention on stopping. I'm hoping once we get this car done, we can start dealing the elephant in the room, which is the 68 Mustang behind me in case you can't tell, which I think I might talk about in another video. I think I know what route and what we're gonna do with it, so I'm excited for that. So stay tuned. I really appreciate you guys. Make sure you head on over to angusauto.com and support the merch, which supports the channel. And make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. All right, peace out, you guys.